moving from place to place. Good morning. Good morning.
Madam Presiding Officer, I will now speak to agriculture and food security. Madam Presiding Officer, the availability of healthy, safe, and affordable food is the #1 priority of this administration.
Of course, healthy, safe, and affordable food should indeed be the #1 priority for all Tobagonians. Hi, I am James Trotman, Chairman of the Tobago Mega Farming Development Program Committee, and with me today are 2 members of the committee. The Tobago Mega Farming Development Program is an initiative under the Division of Food Security, Natural Resources, the Environment and Sustainable Development, championed by the Secretary of the Division.
Exciting changes are on the horizon for Tobago. As we progress towards making our island a more self-sufficient and economically robust island, we are moving to introduce the Tobago-centric model of the mega farming concept. Our division will partner with various stakeholders to ensure that we develop sustainable mega farms, optimizing our agricultural land use and creating viable income earning opportunities for our agro-entrepreneurs in Tobago.
It must be noted that the traditional concept of a mega farm where 100 acres in one space is cultivated cannot apply in Tobago. And instead, because of our hilly terrain, we propose collaboration with stakeholders across the island to achieve 100 acres or greater of total production. In this regard, Tobago mega farming will involve the cooperation of agro-entrepreneurs, including farmers and processors throughout Tobago. Additionally, all farms within the program must adhere to set quality standards, follow set standard operating procedures, and achieve set production goals. Therefore, our mandate under this initiative is to implement farm development projects such as the creation of model farms, construction and or improvement of shade houses, livestock pens, installation of utilities, development of access roads, among other farm structures, all geared towards the production of food on a grand scale, thereby optimizing the agricultural potential of Tobago. One of the lessons coming out of the COVID-19 pandemic is that we need to reduce our reliance on food imports. This can happen if we develop a sustainable food supply framework. Fortunately for us on this small island, we have the essential ingredients necessary to ensure that Tobago achieves our food sovereignty goals.
You're absolutely right, James. Tobago has all that it needs to achieve food security and sovereignty. My name is Paul Crooks, a member of the Tobago Mega Farming Development Program Committee. The entire team is committed to ensuring that we have in excess of 100 acres of active production, inclusive of both livestock and crops. This will be possible through collaboration with key partners and stakeholders, such as local farmers and processors, government and quasi-government institutions, and any other members of the private sector. In other words, we want to work together with every interested party, all hands to the plow. We are mindful of our environment as well, as the team is promising to employ green technologies for minimal environmental impact on all that we produce through this project.
Paul mentioned collaboration, and that is a key ingredient. The success of this program will be based on collaboration and a cross-pollination of ideas at all levels. Everyone must play his part.
Yes, and a lot of the groundwork has already begun. The Tobago Mega Farming Development Program has already actively sought the re-establishment of cocoa estates on the island through stakeholder consultation, research, collaboration with private stakeholders, and introduction of novel technologies like the squawker to repel parrots. We are investing in expanding production of local herbs as well as rebuilding the sheep and goat industry for the livestock farmers. That's not all. We assess and select projects based on needs analyses, so we have a lot of work today.
And the work will continue. We, the members of the Mega Farming Development Program Committee, are fully committed to ensuring that this beautiful island has a sustainable agricultural sector that brings safe and affordable food for all. It's our farm, our food, our future.
Welcome back to the morning show on Tobago Updates Television, and thank you for staying with us even until now. This morning we head into a very interesting conversation, as you saw the ad there with all the information as it relates to mega farming and the sustainable development goals set out by remind me again, the UN, yes, right? The UN. And so, of course, the division of natural food security, natural resources, and the environment and sustainable development. Assemblyman NatishaCharlesPantin is here this morning to give us more information, to walk us through. We had a previous conversation where we spoke about so many different elements in terms of eradication of poverty, persons being able to feed themselves, and so many goals that have been itemized and identified. And so now we're talking about mega farming. We're talking about feeding ourselves, so that's sustainable development, and also providing a form of income for us right here on the island of Tobago as well. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning, Tobago. Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago and the wider audience.
And you know, I was looking at the ad there, and I was looking at all the development and the implementation of the structures, the upgrades. I was looking at the farms, and we were talking about the pawpaw and all of the lovely things that we're seeing there. And I'm thinking to myself, but if we just go back to grassroots, I remember my grandmother always have pottering around in her garden and doing her little things there. And I'm thinking that that is where we started, that's where we came from. And there was a little shift from that into, you know, getting things quickly, rapidly. We want things now. But, you know, this is really encouraging to see the amount of work that is being done by the division and where it is taking us in terms of the sustainable development goals as it impacts each and every one of our lives. So walk us through the mega farming, what it is about, and what are the benefits to all of us here on the island.
So even before I came to the House with the motion of aligning the UN Sustainable Development Goals with our development budget, we embarked on creating a concept of mega farming. Now, if you look at the landscape of Tobago, we don't have a lot of flat land, right? So technology is important for us, and understanding the science and the business of agriculture is extremely important for us as well. So we have no time to waste in Tobago, basically, that's what I'm saying. So a long time you could have just, you know, put things in the ground and it grows. We want to move away from that. Training the farmers in understanding the science. So on that video you saw the pawpaw, a dwarf variety, and you saw the number of pawpaws on just one tree, and that is what we're aiming for. A long time you would have seen how much pawpaw on a tree. You could recall about 6. So you're getting double that. Yeah. So that is what we are focusing on. How can we train farmers to increase their yields, to combat climate change, and basically to operate at a commercial level. Yeah. Now we do cater for people who want to grow anything that they want to grow. If you want to grow zucchini, if you want to grow melon, right, you can become part of the home garden unit where we give you the support. And of course, yesterday a farmer came to my office and inquiring about access roads, right? And of course, if you remember me saying my development budget, I have none. So our access road program is a program. Once we have funding, we fund the program. So we have about 12 contractors thereabout. That was part of a previous access road program that they are just finishing up. And then we have to set a new program once we have funding. Yeah. So that farmer understood what I was saying to him, because we're not like we have any aggregate or anything like that. So what we do is concrete and chip seal. So after explaining that to him, I was so happy to hear that he was about to journey to the plant tissue culture, where we give out thousands of plants. Yeah, so he wanted to continue his planting field. Yeah, so it's about understanding the science and the business of agriculture. And if it's your home garden, of course, we will provide that type of support.
And you know, I was listening to the video again, and it was saying that a mega farming, it takes 100 acres. I mean, we don't have that space in terms of one. So is it a collective plots of land that come together to make up this 100 acres?
Correct. So we're looking at bringing 100 acres under production, and of course, when you're thinking at a commercial level, you're gonna zoom into particular crops and livestock. For now, we rolled out the small ruminant project, working together with the Tobago Integrated Livestock Association and other farmers to revive the small ruminant, the number of small ruminants we have on the island. So what you saw in the video, we did a massive upgrade of all the stations in terms of building infrastructure. And then we had a partnership with the Cubans. It's sort of to bring back the type of genetics, right? So we did artificial insemination on the animals. So the next generation of animals you would get, it would be prime stock. Yeah, and of course, we're trying to increase the number of purebred animals on the stations so that we'll be able to distribute to farmers. So that is why we went to Trinidad on that, scouting trip to ensure that we increase the number of breeding stock on the stations.
And in terms of, I mean, I know this is something the goals have been set quite recently. In terms of reaching out to farmers, has there been, I know you said somebody came into your office just as recent as yesterday. What is the response in terms of the farmers on the island of Tobago? Are they buying into the concept? Are they subscribing? Have they shown interest in, participating in this and, bringing other members on board to ensure that the goals are achieved?
So we have farmers already under the project, but the project will now be rolled out in a formal way. So we'll have greater discussions with farmers going forward. So we started out with the cocoa project, and I'm happy to report that we made strides there, because we have Pat Turpin coming on board. I think she has about 90 acres of land, and so far I think she allocated about 40 acres thereabout. Stand to be corrected. But the Tobago Reforestation and Watershed Rehabilitation Program, their workers are part of that project to rehabilitate that entire estate. Yeah, so she's part of that partnership with Fine Cocoa. And of course, the Little Great River, that area, we brought back those fields into production. So what we're doing is actually extending that type of technical support across the island to revive those 100-year-old estates that was left abandoned. Yeah, and of course we also wrote for funding through Digicel and Shell, and they sponsored us some bird whalers, and that is for pest control. So you no longer you'd have to hear about the parrots and the parakeet, and even Mr. Dove, who he produces chocolates. He has benefited from that project, yeah, because he himself got a bird squawker and experimented, and he came back and he said, "Secretary, I'm so happy that I no longer having the parrots tormenting me on the hill." So we are actively trying to revive that project. And when I hear in this space that Secretary is traveling, I'm one that went to Grenada, and I took a technical team to Grenada, and we came back with that knowledge. Because before they were saying, "Secretary, the cocoa oil, it's time to get rid of it." And I said, "No, I want to take you to those places where they have old cocoa estates and they're still producing, even at the same standard for years." So when they got the knowledge, and of course my technical team, they learned really quick. And we came back and we did the consultations across the space. We invited private people as well to get the funding, and that is where we are at with the cocoa project. So I'm really happy about that. Also, we got funding for the herbs and spices project will be rolled. That will be rolling out soon. I hope I'm not talking too quickly because I'm excited about it. But I got a $20,000 to support from the UN to support that project. So that in itself, you'll see some remarkable things, just as you saw in the video, coming out. So it's basically doing the groundwork to support the mega farms. If you don't have any support in the beginning, right? You don't have the technical knowledge, you don't have the resources, you don't have the farms to supply the breeding stock. If you don't set up these things, then you cannot have your mega farms.
And you were talking earlier about the science of farming, having to learn, and you spoke about going to Grenada and finding out,
Yes.
learning from them as well. And I was wondering also about, in terms of what type of models are you using or employing to set up and to ensure the sustainability even of this project, as it might be something relatively new, although the farming has been going on. We're talking about mega farming involving more farmers, 100 acres, talking about different types of crops and sustaining it. So is there a model that we are employing in terms of rolling out this project to ensure its sustainability?
Oh yes, definitely the model given to us by the UN. Yeah. So I am thinking collaboration will work, right? You have private stakeholders coming on board with us as an assembly, and we're able to have the technical knowledge, introduce in these areas, train those persons so that they're not solely dependent on government. And you know what? We spoke about financial freedom as an administration, and this is it, right? No longer you have the cocoa estates being abandoned, and people just say the early morning walk. Now we actually have our workers participating in meaningful employment. You have them reviving the cocoa fields, and you saw for yourself, and everybody saw that the cocoa fields are now, producing cocoa. Yeah. So we have been doing the background work, and of course the mistletoe gang, they go across the space removing mistletoes. So we putting down the groundwork was necessary before we come to the public and say, okay, we are ready for you. Yeah.
And the thing about this, I'm thinking also the fact that we're doing this type of farming and this intensity of it, it provides an opportunity for us to reduce our imports and provide a platform for greater exports.
Correct.
Hereby, of course, leaning into the goal that speaks to eradicating poverty. You're opening
Correct.
another stream of income and creating entrepreneurs as well.
Correct. No hunger and zero hunger and no poverty, or zero poverty and no hunger. Same thing, right? But that is exactly what we have to do if we have to ensure food sovereignty in Tobago. Yeah?
And have we made any contact or collaborations with external agencies that are, preparing themselves for the type of exports that we want to do? I know we're empowering the farmers now. We're empowering our local farmers in terms of producing and being able to sustain ourselves firstly, and then mass production so that we can export. Is there any conversation that is happening or about to happen with external agencies who are interested in importing our produce?
So we are trying to meet people where they are as well. And we launched the Women in Agriculture and Natural Resources program, where we try to provide support and increase the amount of incentives we give to agro-processors. And we are at that phase where persons in the US, they are coming to select those items that they consider can be exported. And of course, we continue the capacity building for those that have not met those standards. Yeah. So recently, Dr. Toussaint came to the Shore Park Food Hub, where some of the agro-processors, they were assembled, and they started to identify what products had potential. Now, Mrs. Pantin, I'm one of those secretaries that sample everything that is natural. And I'll tell you something. Recently, I had a conversation with the Secretary for Health, and we talk a lot about how to improve the sectors, yeah? And we had that discussion of defining how expensive it is, right, to not eat healthy, right? What is the cost to you and the cost to the Tobago House of Assembly after years of not ingesting healthy food? And you know, once you have an idea of what it takes to treat non-communicable diseases, cancers, diabetes, right? Once you learn that, you would see the importance of eating healthy, eating local, eating our food. It's our food and our future, yeah? So once we understand that, and the general public, you understand that, how important it is for us to go back to the land, to eat healthy, right? This is not me here bashing KFC, right? But training yourselves now so that in the future you don't compromise your ability to live.
That's right.
And that is what sustainability is about. Meeting your needs now so that you don't compromise the needs of the future generations. So if you think about it, the sustainability concept is an excellent one. Yeah.
And you know, it really is an excellent one in terms of sustaining ourselves. How does a farm or registered farmer or even somebody with a small home garden become a part of this goal, achieving this goal, or become a part of this project or program? Because we're talking about sustaining oneself first and foremost,
Correct.
and collectively as an island, and then again achieving the goals set out by the UN. How do we come up? If I want to be a part of this, how does one become a part of this initiative?
So you can visit the main office at Milsherv in Shervan, and you walk in and ask to visit the home garden unit, yeah? Or you ask the front desk, you want to be part of the small ruminant project. So they will refer you to the agricultural department. You can call 639-1966 and get the information. But of course, you can scroll the page, right? The Division of Food Security, Natural Resources, the Environment, and Sustainable Development. Scroll the page, and you will get all the information on all the projects that we have been rolling out. Now, I have been honest up front that my division, the allocation is next to nothing. After you pay wages, right? And that is not because of Miss Pantin. This is what I met there. The development budget was used to pay to hire workers, and those workers have remained under the division, right? So I don't have a budget for development. So that is why all the technical officers, all of us in the division, we look external to the division for funding. And of course, the Division of Finance, that division, the Chief Secretary, he has provided so much support to the Division of Agriculture. So that is why I'm saying that he has prioritized the division, right? A lot of what you're seeing in the space, a lot of the development you're seeing in the space, he has to pay the bill, yeah? So he has been supporting the creativity of Tobagonians all along, right? Knowing that I have no money, yeah? So and that speaks to number 17 of the SDG goals, partnerships. We cannot achieve what we want on this island if we don't partner.
That's right. That's right. You know, really interesting conversation this morning. And of course, sustaining oneself is very, very important. It reduces dependency on other elements. You know, you become a little bit more independent. You have a better understanding of how things operate and how to manage. There's so many benefits that can come from this this initiative as well. And in closing, is there anything what is the one thing that you want our viewers to take away from this? What do you want them to go home with and to always remember as we continue discussions to achieve these goals?
Well, I want Tobagonians to understand that we are on this island together. If the rain falls, it falls on all of us. If the boat doesn't come to Tobago, it affects all of us. And therefore, the fight is not for a few of us. The fight is for all of us to get more money to manage the affairs of Tobago. And we're not saying more money, you know, what is rightfully ours. Right? Not the lower end of the, you know, what is allocated to Tobago, right? The 4.03 and the 6.9, right? We all have to fight for that together, yeah? And once we get that money, if we are doing all of this with nothing now, imagine if we get what is rightfully ours. So my takeaway is we are all in this together.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen, we're speaking with Assemblyman NatishaCharlesPantin, speaking about, of course, the Sustainable Development Goals set up by the United Nations, and we're talking about mega farming, the impacts on Tobago and the benefits for all of us who reside here in Tobago. Thank you so much for staying with us up until this point. This is where we end the morning show on Tobago Updates Television, but of course we don't end our programming here. We head on over to Tobago Notes and then on to GMT, so stay with us, and as you stay with us, we encourage you to help us share the live, share the live, share the live.